A stadium fit for the 21st century, the envy of every club in Britain, Ibrox Park, home of Glasgow Rangers. Rangers against Aberdeen tonight, a replay of the match that decided the championship last season, settled by an Englishman.
That's a magnificent goal for Rangers!
A second goal by Mark Hateley gave the title to Rangers for the 41st time, a record. And since then, Aberdeen have never really recovered. With Rangers 4 points clear in the Premier League this season, this scene could well be repeated in 3 months' time. And so this is Ibrox, the new Ibrox. Part of the £20 million scheme to rebuild this great arena was officially opened 2 months ago. 41,500 the capacity now. And it really is an environment which shames the National Stadium of Hampden Park just a few miles away. Good evening. We're here this evening because this match had originally been played on Saturday, but an absolute monsoon hit Glasgow and the surrounding area. 3 inches of rain fell on Saturday alone, and as a consequence, this game was postponed, as indeed was the match between Falkirk and Hearts. So, going into this match this evening, this is how the top of the table stands. Just 4 points separating Rangers and Hearts, and although Aberdeen are obviously out of contention, they have a chance to really put the cat amongst the pigeons by winning here at Ibrox tonight, and so giving Hearts a game in hand and the possibility of closing that gap to just 2 points. But more than anything else this evening, this is all about it being Willie Miller's first match in charge of Aberdeen. Now, Alex Smith was the first man ever to be officially sacked by Aberdeen. 3 wins in 18 games sealed his fate, but his successor was never in doubt. Willie Miller was and is a footballing legend at Pittodrie after playing almost 1,000 games for the club. When Aberdeen were the dominant side in Scottish football, Miller was the dominant figure. Now he's determined to take Aberdeen back to their position of preeminence in the Scottish game. Unaccustomed to failure as a player, you wouldn't bet against his promises becoming reality. And the great thing about this thing is that, of course, he couldn't have chosen a tougher match to start his career as a manager. Rangers are not only 4 points clear at the top of the table, but they have, in scoring 87 goals this season, become the most lethal side in Scottish football. Only one team in British football have scored more goals than Glasgow Rangers, and that is Barnet. So I'm sure that will make Barry Fry smile a bit. Our guest this evening, as you can see, is Gordon McQueen. You know Willie Miller pretty well. He made his first international appearance alongside you.
Yeah, I think that was in Bucharest, Romania in 1975. Willie played in that game. In actual fact, he was a midfield player at the time, but of course he made his name famous playing at the back alongside Alec McLeish. Terrific defender he was as well. It's easy, obviously, to be wise after the event, but did you, at that juncture, think that this was quite a promising player in the making? Look, I think everybody in Scottish football knew at the time that Willie Miller had a terrific future, and who would have predicted the future he did have at Pittodrie? I mean, I realise you mentioned in the build-up that he is a legend in Aberdeen and, in fact, in Scotland. Was he as tough as perhaps his legend makes out? Well, I don't know what he was like as a manager, but he was certainly a terrific competitor as a player. And I think to play the amount of games that he played for Aberdeen, captain him for such a long period, you've got to be a tough competitor and a tough cookie, and Willie Miller's certainly that.
OK, well, we'll see how his managerial pep talk affects the team, obviously, as the evening goes on. This, of course, is the second night running that we've had a live football match for you from Scotland. Last night's game was a Scottish Cup tie, and it ended in immense controversy.
Well, the referee certainly saw the ball thud into Batby then. And in he goes! Touched onto the bar by Jim Leighton. The reactions are still there. That was superb. But it's McMartin again. Oh, and it's the bar at the other end. McMartin. The game almost froze for a moment as everyone looked at the referee.
Our first reaction is they've gone away with it again. Crawford back to you again. Don't know whether there's an awful lot he can do, but he's certainly used an arm or two in there again, hasn't he?
Yes, Sloan, Scott Sloan has delighted those Falkirk fans.
What a strike from Scott Sloan this is. What a start to the second half.
McQuillan will reach it. Eddie Gallagher trying to get under this as it drops. And Craig Westwater came out to claim it. A call. Now Dundee getting into the centre in support of Dodds. Not a penalty, but that's a penalty. Not given.
My first impression now, this is a penalty. Billy Dodds drives into the box, gets his foot to the ball, there it is, that's a penalty. No danger.
Well, Andy Gray seemed pretty clear that sure that was a penalty, but the referee, Mr. David Syme, and he was the man who counts, said it wasn't. Of course, he was at the centre of that great controversy in the Skull Cup semi-final last year. What did you make of that goal?
Who'd be a referee for a start?
Well, absolutely.
I mean, the first one looks like intentional handball, penalty kick. The second one, I think Crawford Bapty just kicks the ball against his hands, completely unintentional. And the third one, the Billy Dodds, when he was tripped up there, well, they could have 2 penalties for that. That was a blatant penalty.
I suppose the referee might say, though, that he wasn't actually going to score. The ball maybe had been lost in the penalty area.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, Billy Dodds is brought down intentionally inside the box, and who's to say he wasn't going to set it up for somebody else? So that was a definite penalty. So I think Dundee are feeling a bit aggrieved about that. But it was a great goal that won the game for Falkirk.
Indeed. Well, that was last night. This is tonight, obviously, and up above it somewhere on the gantry, David Livingston has news of the teams.
John, the atmosphere at Ibrox always builds up slowly, but you watch towards the end of this build-up period, the seats just fill instantly. But it's going to be a great atmosphere. The teams are out, and there's some big team news for Rangers. Mark Hateley's going to play, but we can look at the full team lineup now. In goals, of course, Andy Gorham. In defence, Gary Stevens, Richard Gough, John Brown and David Robertson. In midfield, Dale Gordon. Ian Ferguson comes in, Nigel Spackman and Peter Houstra. And up front, Ali McCoist and, of course, as I said, Mark Hateley. The Rangers manager, Walter Smith, his team are 4 points clear as they're about to go into the last quarter of the league. So what's his message to the players?
Well, they can only look back to last season when they played Aberdeen the last game of the season, which they had to win the championship. At one stage, we were even further ahead than we are at the present moment, and we got caught last season. So they know that we can get caught. And a few weeks ago, Hearts were a couple of points in front of us, and we've turned that around. So anything can happen.
What kind of occasion can we expect tonight, do you think?
It'll be an interesting game tonight. I think change of management at Aberdeen. Well, they'll obviously be wanting to make an impression in his first match. And for us, you get used to a style of play from one manager, Alex Smith, and now it's changed a little bit. So we're going a little bit into the unexpected with Aberdeen this evening, because I'm sure Willie will make 1 or 2 changes and bring in bits of his own thoughts.
Well, Willie Miller, obviously a man with his own thoughts, but many people expected big surprises tonight. But as I make it, it's only one change from the team which lost 2 weeks ago to Hibs. Let's look at the full lineup now. In goals, Theo Snelders. In defence, it's Stephen Wright, Brian Irvine, Stuart McKimmie and Gary Smith. In midfield, Brian Grant, Paul Kane, Jim Bett and Theo Tenkat. And up front, it's that deadly combination, Scott Booth and Ian Jess. Manager, of course, Willie Miller. It's his first game as manager. So what does it mean to be here at Ibrox for his first game?
Well, it means a lot. You're playing against the team at the top of the table, and it's down at Ibrox. Big stadium, big platform for the players to perform. A big platform for me is my first game, so looking forward to it.
You played in many great games here as a player, of course, but now as a manager, what do you think the fans can expect tonight?
Well, hopefully a very entertaining game. We always come down here in a positive manner. We'll look to attack Rangers. Hopefully there's a few goals, particularly for Aberdeen. But I'm sure it'll be a good game for everybody watching.
Obviously a big game. It's a sellout crowd. The seats are slowly filling up. Well, let's see if we get a great game later on.
Thanks, David. Gordon, a couple of thoughts about each of the teams. First of all, Mark Hateley back for Rangers. Does that necessitate a change in tactics for them?
Well, it certainly gives them other options in an attacking sense. You know, if things aren't going too well, they can take the aerial route with Mark Hateley playing, which they can't do when there's other players playing. But and as I say, that's another option. And really, his partnership with McCoist this season really has been something special. And he's been in terrific form as well, Mark Hateley. I know Ali McCoist is scoring a lot of the goals, but at the same time, Mark Hateley's setting a lot up and scored a few goals himself.
OK, Gordon, we'll talk some more after this short break. Kick-off gets ever nearer. You know, the ethos here at Ibrox is very clear. Sport is theatre and entertainment. The fans are customers who've paid good money, and some admittedly have paid more money than others, and therefore they deserve to be treated properly. They have 1,000 staff here on match days to ensure that every fast food outlet you can possibly imagine is properly staffed, and the Rangers really are living proof that by spending millions on a new stadium doesn't necessarily mean that you sacrifice performances on the field. And you know, this is the 4th time that these sides have met this season. This is what happened on their three previous encounters.
There's Tenkat, both going to the left, checking inside Nisbet, that's for Tenkat. Here a chance now for Jess. Aberdeen take the lead. Here's a good ball from Booth to Van der Ark, back it goes to Booth, he can take this for a run himself. Facing Spackman. Playing it wide for Van der Ark. Aberdeen want to keep the play at this end of the field. That's good play by Van der Ark. Back it goes to Grant. This should tie it up. That was brilliant. Headed on by McCoist. Here's Hateley. Very neat turn. McCoist, dummy, allows Gordon to take over. That's a great effort by Gordon. And by Hateley. A superb finish by Hateley. Here's Hillhouse. The rebound from Tenkat. Aberdeen have equalised. Hateley's ball inside, picked up by McCall. That's fine play by Hateley. His pace is good enough here. It's a great chance for Rangers. That was brilliant. Robertson looking for Hateley. Into the path of McCoist it goes. There's McLeish. McCoist gets the third. Hateley's given that straight to Hillhouse. A chance now for Aberdeen. Hillhouse going beyond Gorham. Still has a chance. Blocked on the line and forced home in the end by Irvine. Aberdeen are back in the match.
Aberdeen very slow to react to a short corner. Gordon with that trick over the ball, that's one of his trademarks. Goff's header. Spackman trying to keep the pressure on. And McCoist! Not a classic, but that scarcely matters for Rangers.
So Rangers are 2-1 up in the meeting so far this season. Aberdeen, so to speak, going for the equaliser tonight. And there's one Rangers player who'll be out there this evening who could make his own little bit of history.
David Robertson will reach Hateley. That's a lovely touch from McCoist. A terrific goal from Rangers. And McCoist is back with a bang.
One more goal tonight for Ali McCoist to make it 200 league goals in his career with St Johnstone, Sunderland and, of course, here at Rangers. And he has Mark Hateley as his partner up front this evening. Gordon, Mark Hateley is a player who struggled a bit when he first got here. What do you think are his great strengths?
Yes, I think you're right. He did struggle a bit. I think him and Richard Gough are Rangers' two most influential players now. Obviously, he's got tremendous aerial ability. I mean, that wasn't a bad finish there. That wasn't a bad finish at all, was it? And they actually miss him badly when he's out now. Obviously, the Hateley-McCoist partnership is by far the most dangerous in the Premier League. Both score lots of goals, and he must be an absolute dream for Ali McCoist to play alongside. And it's just unfortunate recently that he received that injury, and because I felt there was a little chance of him maybe getting into one of Graham Taylor's squads, whether it was a full game against France or the B International. I had a little chance, and obviously that opportunity was denied because of injury.
Well, it's very easy to talk about big men up front, but some clubs don't do too badly with small men up front either. And Aberdeen's front players aren't exactly huge, are they? What about Ian Jess?
Yeah, Booth and Jess, both smashing little players. I think Ian Jess, just every time I see him, he seems to be improving, coming on leaps and bounds. And he's one of those players that he's terrific at turning players. He can pick balls up deep and run at players. He's got good pace, and obviously the most important of the lot for strikers is that he finishes pretty well. Really nice finisher. You know, left foot, right foot. Maybe not an aerial threat like Mark Hateley, as you say, but certainly knows how to stick them away. This in the league game, the 4-0 win at Tynecastle. Sees Henry Smith just coming off his line a little bit, looks up, bends a lovely little right-footed shot past Henry Smith.
OK, well, it's certainly going to be interesting to compare Booth and Jess against McCoist and Hateley tonight. Kick-off is just more than 5 minutes away. Stay with us. Well, 17 points separate these two clubs in the league table, but it's a safe bet it's going to be very close this evening on what's bound to be a pretty heavy pitch after all that weekend rain. Well, Gordon McQueen has zoomed upstairs to our commentary gantry, where he's joined Martin Tyler.
Thank you, John. Hello again, everyone. The second leg, this of our Northern Tour, with Anfield to come tomorrow night, having started in Dundee yesterday. There really is a grandeur here at Ibrox to compare with any major stadium in the world. Rangers, initially financed by the deep passion of their fans, they've become a money-making machine now, without any detriment to their football. 4 points clear at the top of the table, a fourth successive league title in their sights. Aberdeen's second visit to Ibrox this season. They won here 2-0 last September. But even that couldn't wipe away the agony they experienced on the last day of last season on this ground, when they were so close to getting their hands on the championship themselves. But they lost the match, and with it, the trophy. The grandeur now extends behind the scenes as well. Aberdeen making their way through a new foyer from the dressing rooms, down the tunnel, and out into the open. Well, tonight one would expect Aberdeen to work to a familiar script. Rangers. Let's go, come on. Mark Hateley back in the side. Have the league trophy again in their sights. And one would not expect them to stumble in the run-in in the last couple of months of the season, particularly with this sort of support, but you never know. Well, it's not been by any means a hard winter in Scotland, but the Ibrox pitch took a real pounding on Saturday from the rain. It has been a clear day in Glasgow, though, today, and the surface remains sodden. The ground staff have worked very hard. But the postponement has suited both parties. Rangers able to give Ali McCoist extra time to recover from a strain sustained in Scotland's cause last Wednesday. And also they're able to make absolutely sure that Mark Hateley was ready to return. He's been missing since New Year's Day. But both Ukrainians, Kuznetsov and Mikhailichenko, are unfit tonight, as is Stuart McCall. So John Brown and Ian Ferguson keep their places. And the Dutchman, Peter Houstra, comes in for Mikhailichenko. Gordon, a pretty tried and trusted method for Rangers.
Yeah, no real surprises. Obviously, Mark Hateley back on the side. He's become a very important and popular player here at Ibrox. And of course, when Mikhailichenko been absent once again due to injury, it gives Ian Ferguson an opportunity to establish himself at Ibrox.
Well, two of Willie Miller's defenders, Brian Irvine and Stephen Wright, have benefited from Saturday's washout and the extra time to recover from their injuries. Jim Bett is back from suspension to face his old club. But no place at all for Hans Hillhouse, the youthful pairing in attack of the top scorer, Ian Jess, who's got 12 goals, and Scott Booth, who a week ago tonight struck a hat-trick for Scotland's under-21s.
Yeah, obviously a very dangerous front pair, Scott Booth, Ian Jess. I think the problem position for Aberdeen, certainly this season, since Davy Robertson's departure to Ibrox to Rangers, has been the left-back position. And they've got young Gary Wright in there, who's normally a right-sided player. So we'll need to see if he's the answer to that problem.
Well, George Smith was called from his bed in the early hours of Saturday morning to come and inspect the pitch here. When he arrived, the water was way over the shoe leather, and he had no hesitation in calling the game off. On the pitch tonight, some green sand, which has been brought here from Aston Villa, who've had problems getting their pitch presentable. Mark Hateley won't mind what sort of surface, just as long as he's back after that nasty thigh injury that took longer to clear up perhaps than anticipated, and as Gordon McQueen was saying earlier, kept him out of the representative reckoning as England put out a senior side and a B side last week. Well, we await the arrival of Willie Miller in the Aberdeen dugout. He was a hard man on the field, Gordon. Will he be a tough manager?
Well, we never can tell, because obviously being a great player doesn't necessarily mean you become a great manager, but certainly Willie Miller was certainly a determined player, and I'm sure he'll bring that into management, and I would expect him to have a success with Aberdeen.
Well, there's so many cup ties on view at the moment. We ought to remind you that tonight it's for league points in the Premier Division. And if Rangers were to win here, they would go 6 points clear of Hearts at the top. And by a quirk of fate, Hearts play Celtic on Saturday, and a Celtic win, if Rangers win tonight, could actually give their old rivals a really firm grip on the closing stages of the season. Here's Hateley. McCoist, played back by McKimmie. Theo Snelders in the Aberdeen goal. Gary Smith in the centre of defence. Alec McLeish is still out injured. How Willie Miller, I'm sure, would have loved to have been able to field his old defensive partner. But I was speaking to Alec a little while ago. He believes he'll be out for another month or so with a foot problem. Brian Irvine. The chasing from Booth.
Aberdeen have actually switched the back four round a little bit. As I mentioned pre-match there, Gary Smith normally plays in the right-sided role of the centre half or at right back. They've actually, in actual fact, got young Stephen Wright over at the left-back position, and Gary Smith in the centre of defence.
And Stephen Wright intercepting there, crucially for Aberdeen. This young man was in the Scotland squad last week, but he had to pull out at the last minute of the place on the bench because of an injury. Booth stopped on the edge of the area. Jim Bett. How the pitch will play is an important factor, considering the amount of rain that fell in Glasgow on Saturday when a number of games in the west of Scotland were washed out. Ian Ferguson making his presence felt here around his opposite number, Jim Bett.
Yeah, well, Jim Bett getting a bit of the bird from the crowd there, because I think the Rangers supporters know what a good player he is and what an influential player he is for Aberdeen, and of course I think he's Rangers player as well.
And a former Rangers man in the early 80s. Some speculation a year or so ago that he might be coming back here again for a second spell. So, Willie Miller settles into his seat and a new career in management. McKimmie into the feet of Jess. Booth, they're very nippy up front, and Jess has the shot beaten away, put back by Paul Kane, but off target. Well, there's the first sign of this almost precocious talent that Jess has.
Yeah, that was a lovely little turn here, and really thunders this one against the... Yes, it's blocked away by Andy Gorham in actual fact. It's an early indication of Aberdeen's ambitions to come here and win this game tonight.
Well, only the particularly partisan old firm clashes between Rangers and Celtic have carried more weight than Aberdeen's games at Ibrox over the last 10 years or so. This fixture really has produced a catalogue of top-class contests, and the early signs are very promising again. It's Stevens. Maybe with Haitley in mind, but he couldn't pick him out. Houstra trying to keep the ball. Robertson too for Rangers. Here's John Brown. Tenkat blocked it. Bett playing on the retreat, but doing it surely and very much his trademark down the years. Tenkat. So we've got Tenkat and Snelders for Aberdeen, their two Dutchmen. Peter Houstra for Rangers, but no Hans Hielhaus, who hasn't had a particularly solid season. Brown's header. Brian Grant, a strong character in Aberdeen's midfield. Brown takes the free kick. Well by Irvin. Brown tries again. Here's Gordon. Ferguson making a terrific run infield of him, taking defenders with him. Houstra, but dispossessed by Grant. Here's McKimmie, who played for Scotland last week. Pulled in when Paul McStay dropped out with injury against Northern Ireland. Kane, nicely taken by Jess. Jess and Booth have had an understanding built at youth level. And one always felt, Gordon, over the last couple of years that they would become the first-choice pairing on a regular basis here. Yeah, well, he is a player that's come on leaps and bounds. There's a lovely through ball there from Paul Kane, and his control was really delightful. Right, Tenkat. So far, the pitch is playing very well. Tenkat trying to use it to his advantage. This is Kane. That's a foul by Spackman. With 6 minutes gone, Rangers against Aberdeen. You're seeing it live here on Sky Sports for Premier League points in Scotland, rearranged from Saturday. Gorham has set his wall. 10 cat. Well, it beat the full dive from Andy Gorham, but also beat the post.
I tell you, that one had Andy Gorham worried. It's a terrific strike with 10 cat, and very close indeed. Andy Gorham at full stretch, and thankfully for him, just slipped past the post. But they've got a few free kick specialists, Aberdeen. Jim Bett that rolled the ball to 10 cat, and of course Paul Kane on the right hand side of midfield as well.
Actually rolled it into a very good shooting position wide of the wall, and possibly Rangers were a bit slow to recognise the danger there and come out and try and close 10 cat down. Hopefully, he's a very popular character here now, and was in a particularly good vein of form when he collected the injury. George Smith, the referee, just checking on the condition of Brian Irvine, who'd gone down with an injury, but like the resolute character he is, he's picked himself up without any treatment, got back in position. Gary Smith alongside him, cleared. Here's Brown. Ferguson. Hately waiting at the far post as Gordon's cross only strikes Smith.
Well, I felt that was a little opportunity there. I mean, Ian Ferguson rolled the ball out to Dale Gordon, but he's got a terrific right-footed shot, Ian Ferguson. I thought he might have had a pocket goal there.
Goff has joined the attacking forces at the corner, watched by Irvine. What it has meant is that Irvine, who's the tallest defender, isn't covering Hately, but the ball doesn't reach Mark Hately. McKimmie actually had the responsibility for watching the Rangers number 10. Gordon. And that's a goal kick. There are plans here to do a spot of mid-season reseeding on the Ibrox pitch after next Saturday's game, providing Rangers don't have a cup replay. There would be 3 clear weeks without a major match in the stadium, and they're very concerned, Rangers, understandably, to have a playing surface in keeping with the quality of everything else at Ibrox. Here's Jess. He's got plenty of quality of his own. Robertson rather, with Houstra ahead of him down the line. Irvine's header. David Robertson, of course, a former Aberdeen player, was signed last summer, and he has now become an international for Scotland. Only 23, born in Aberdeen and educated in the game by Aberdeen FC. Goff. It's gone all the way through.
Well, it's been a reasonably promising start for Willie Miller, because Aberdeen have looked dangerous a couple of times on the attack, whereas well, it's only early in the game so far, but Rangers haven't.
Well, Aberdeen do have a very good record here. And of course, they have been an outstanding club side through the 80s with Alec Ferguson, then Ian Porterfield, and then the recently departed Alex Smith, creating sides capable of winning trophies. Down goes McCoist. Rangers take the free kick quickly. Smith wants to let it run. McCoist wasn't having any of that and has forced the corner.
It's always a dangerous thing to do that when you've got a determined character like Ali McCoist breathing down your neck. Try and let the ball roll out for a goal kick.
Ali McCoist well aware that he needs 1 goal for his 200 in his league career, most of them with Rangers. Gordon's corner, solidly away by Grant. Everybody apart from Gorham in the Aberdeen half. Stevens for Spackman. Aberdeen holding their line, but they haven't picked up Gordon. And in the end, they were rather fortunate that that rolled comfortably as Gordon tried to cross it. And the pace was taken off it. Snelders was not troubled.
It was a nice little ball that David Robertson slipped into Dale Gordon, just turned on it, but fortunately for Aberdeen, there were enough players behind the ball, and it was a poor cross straight into Theo Snelders' hands.
Gordon back on the right now, but cropping up down a left central channel and catching Aberdeen out by doing that. Houstra. Robertson advancing, but not finding Haitley, who rather ruefully turns away, as does David Robertson. Well, Rangers' recent record shows that they're almost irresistible. The last 12 league games, 11 wins and a draw. Last 14 in league and cup, 13 wins and a draw. Superb statistics that really show their supremacy. But Aberdeen, having heard Willie Miller's first team talk before a major match under his charge, they have been using some of the first team squad in reserve and a local county cup. Not that he doesn't know everything there is to know about them after his long service at the club. He was a coach, of course, before he succeeded Alex Smith. And before that, a player of wonderful resolution and defensive strength. 65 appearances for Scotland. And some 800+ competitive games for Aberdeen. Born in Glasgow, though. Tenkat. Off hard and fairly on Jess. Bet got the ball back quickly enough for Aberdeen. Aberdeen haven't played since the 8th of February, 17 days, due to being knocked out of the Scottish Cup by Rangers at Pittodrie, and due to last Saturday's postponement. Tenkat. Here's Jess, coming from behind is McKimmie. Well, that was a fine position for a cross, and I must say, one expected Stuart McKimmie to do better then.
Yes, he got forward well. I think this has happened at both ends of the pitches now. They've got into good attacking situations, but the quality of the crossing so far has been rather poor.
Willie Miller, I'm sure, believing that it would be wrong to make too many drastic changes straight away, but he'll have his own views, and as the next few weeks pass, I'm sure we'll see perhaps more evidence of those than in this match. Wright getting there before Gordon. This is Robertson. Stephen Wright there again. Nicely down by Booth. Well, it was a fine idea. Jess went for the return, was possibly a little disappointed it didn't come his way, but Theo Tenkat was lurking on the left. Booth couldn't quite find the right pass to him.
Yeah, I think Booth was looking for a little 1-2 with his striking partner there, but he tried to switch play a little bit over to Tenkat, but Gary Stevens cut it out. Good positioning with the defender.
Irvin taking a ride on the back of Haitley with 15 minutes gone. And the Rangers trying to catch Aberdeen on the wrong foot with a free kick before the referee was ready. Maybe now something a little more direct. Theo Snelders in the Aberdeen goal has been a superb successor to Jim Leighton. This is Ferguson. And it ricocheted through the wall, but was shepherded back to Snelders by McKimmie.
He's such an imposing goalkeeper, Theo Snelders. When you see somebody trying to take a free kick from 30 yards against him, you think, well, no chance.
Brown's header. McKimmie. Now Grant. Kane, one of the quartet in midfield for Aberdeen. Jim Bett hoping to pull the strings in that department. Tenkat on the left. Wright's gone outside him. Here's Grant. Gordon, 4 up for Rangers suddenly. Dale Gordon trying to get the better here of Stephen Wright, who's a youngster who really has impressed Andy Roxburgh. Quite an examination of his skills as a left-back, facing Dale Gordon here. The two are close together at Gary Stevens' long throw, which Goff competes for. Spackman. Now Goff. Irvin in the way, 2 against 2. But the ball will carry on through to Andy Gorham. Robertson. Mark Haitley, not yet a real force in the game, but plenty of time for that. Tenkat, nimbly done. Bett, just offside. Scott Booth. Well, Willie Miller pledged that Aberdeen would come here and attack. Certainly they'll be happy to do that on the break if they can draw Rangers forward. It's a foul by Smith on a complaining McCoist.
Yeah, this is a... No, I don't think there was a great deal in that one at all. The referees gave a free kick in a dangerous situation when you think of the aerial threat of Haitley and Richard Goff.
Mark Haitley's missed 7 matches. But he's back in an area now that he knows best, making a move. Had a set-piece situation here. Taken by Gordon. And it was John Brown whose presence unsettled Aberdeen. He's a very determined character, and that quality was reflected in his movement towards the free kick then. He repositions on the edge of the area and gets to it as well. But that was the main achievement.
Well, set pieces against Aberdeen tonight could spell them trouble, because looking around their side, they've really only got Brian Irvin, who's physical and big, certainly in their back four, and in fact their whole team.
Booth operating behind the flick on. The game stopped as the linesman flags, and a first opportunity to locate David Livingston, who as usual is down between the dugouts. David.
Martin behind the Aberdeen dugout, and Willie Miller obviously as a central defender of some pedigree with his old mate Alec McLeish alongside, have clearly recognised the difficulties in defence for Aberdeen with an inexperienced back four against this experienced Rangers front attacking force. And Dale Gordon has been causing some problems, as you said, by changing positions, but they seem to have settled on the advice that Brian Irvin should stay with Haitley. It's the only logical thing they can do, but they're clearly very concerned.
Wright's header. Here's Stevens. Gordon. Wright's tackle, and then Tenkat. Well, the crowd, the Rangers support, not too happy with the way Tenkat went down here, as if he said, well, I felt that, I'll make sure the referee doesn't miss the push. But I think it's quite rightly given as a foul and a free kick, which Wright takes. Aberdeen have gone 5 games without a win, but you can use statistics whichever way you like. Their last 3 away games, they scored 9 goals. It's been a run of disappointments up in the northeast that really led in the end to a change of management.
Well, Rangers taking a little chance there again, pushing out, but in actual fact, Davy Robertson stayed behind a little bit there, and Richard Gough was none too happy with him.
Gough takes the free kick. Hateley angles it on. McCoist reacting to it. And the referee reacting to a dive from McCoist. And if he hasn't got the nerve to question the referee's decision, you can be absolutely sure that it wasn't a foul.
Yeah, the ball was running away from Ali here. He gets his foot hit, but I mean, there's a nice little stumbled and fell forward. We'll call it a stumble anyway.
Tenkat, Gough, pursued by Booth. Stevens, who once more is showing admirable consistency for Rangers at right back. Grant, helped out by Kane, who's come back to Scotland this season from Oldham, a short spell in England. Smith. Right, launching it into the space behind Gary Stevens. And John Brown came in pretty abruptly on Booth in the first place. The decision is a corner. It could easily have been a free kick.
Yeah, Brown chases and harries him, but he pushes him in the back a little here, but eventually I think the ball comes off Booth for a Rangers goal kick. It's a corner kick nevertheless.
A compromise decision, really. I don't think John Brown could have complained if a free kick had been given against him. So back to take it. It was Gary Smith who tried to help it on. Rangers appealing that there might have been a spot of holding. Here's McCoist and Wright, and the help in the end from Tenkat, but the crowd lifted by Ali McCoist running then. And a moment earlier, Aberdeen had some arms raised, wondering whether George Smith might have spotted an infringement following that near post corner. And he has now, and it's Dale Gordon backing in.
Yeah, I think the Rangers supporters behind that goal and Dale Gordon felt that Stephen Wright was hanging on to Dale Gordon. But George Smith gave the decision out of the way, saying Dale Gordon was backing into Stephen Wright. I think a bit of both.
Apart from the architectural beauty of this ground, where Dale Gordon is feeling very much at home, although he wasn't...
yeah, just a little bit of pushing and jostling here, and who's holding who here, I'm not quite sure.
What I was going to say about the ground is the sound is amplified, it seems. The crowd probably just short of 40,000, and it sounds like 60 or 70,000 when Rangers are on the move as they are here with Hateley. He wants to get into the game. He's been just on the fringes so far.
This is not something you see Mark Hateley doing too often. Obviously, he's usually in the centre of the box for crosses coming in. Long-range effort. Struck it quite well, but well wide of the mark.
"20 minutes to go to half-time. Given Aberdeen's recent upheavals, given that there is an air of inexperience, particularly about the left side of their defence, with the left central defender Gary Smith and Stephen Wright, but they have got very lively attackers in Booth and Jess.
Well, that was a situation I mentioned earlier about the Rangers back four trying to play square and push out. They could get caught if they continue to play that ploy tonight, and nearly get caught there.
It's a wasted cross by Tenkat, steered away by Spackman. Hateley was waiting, Wright wasn't. Tenkat has another chance. They're not the tallest, the two in the middle. That was a sensible ball in the circumstances. Grant trying to play it into Jess's feet, and they're in behind him now, Hallström. Letting McCoist run. Might have fallen a little more fortunately for Ali McCoist then. And it was a rather speculative ball from Houstra. Peter Houstra, who's back in the side tonight in place of, let's say, Mikhailichenko. Ferguson went in, and then Houstra. Oh, it looked as though he'd been struck by something then, or maybe a muscle just went. It was a.
I think he might have caught his studs in the ground there and went over on his knee. It's a peculiar one. Hopefully he's all right.
Tells us something about the texture of the surface after all the rain. But Mikhailichenko was just beginning to find the sort of form Rangers expected of him, with those two crucial goals in their last match to turn around the cup tie against Motherwell here. And then he went away with the Commonwealth of Independent States, the former Soviet Union, to Valencia for an international last week. Was injured in training, didn't play in the international, and isn't available because of that injury tonight. Here's Booth. Spackman, who does so much unspectacular work but necessary graft in midfield. Stevens. First coming for the ball to feet. The interception for Aberdeen by McKimmie. But David Robertson quite able there to cope with Ian Jess making up the ground behind him.
He's going to take a pacey forward to get in behind David Robertson, because really is a player with tremendous pace.
Irvin in the wars again. Well, he knew it was going to be a battle from the moment Mark Hateley's name was put on the Rangers team sheet. Jess trying to catch Rangers square again.
Yeah, well offside there. Gary Stevens pushed the line up, spotted it well, pushed out. The linesman was 100% correct.
Hateley trying to set up Ferguson, but Aberdeen were a bit too canny to let that happen. Oh, well, that went down. Spackman has the shot. It was a responsible try as Rangers redouble their efforts here. I think Bet might have complained that just before that he was tripped. The referee didn't see it.
Yeah, it's not something Nigel Spackman does. That's scored a lot of goals, and see why. But he certainly makes up for that with his industry in midfield.
Oh, Stevens has let go then, and he's missed it. Well, I can remember Gary Stevens making an error similar to that in a Scottish Cup final a couple of years ago. I can't remember another one in between.
Yeah, well, on that occasion, Joe Miller punished, but on this occasion, Scott Muth just tries to bend it around Andy Gorham a bit and doesn't quite get it right. But it's I think he tried to bring it down initially. I don't think he attempted to pass back, but it just ran away from him a little bit. Booth was quick and alert onto it and just swerved it round the left-hand post.
Well, you could see as the ball was dropping, Booth was prepared to gamble that Stevens might make a mistake. He won that part of it, but having been presented with the ball, the chance was there. And Aberdeen might regret not taking it. 15 minutes to go to half-time. A very relieved Gary Stevens. It's a free kick to Aberdeen, taken by Smith. And Brown's header, not really decisively clearing the danger. He was helped by Ferguson. Hateley, that's a lovely touch. Houstra. Involving Hateley again. Gordon through the middle. McCoist is getting there as well. And Haitley gets it across. It needed some defending. And McKimmie, I think it was, who came all the way from right to this near post. Back from Spackman. This is Haitley once and twice, and Gordon. Then Grant away for Aberdeen. Clever work from Jess. Aberdeen trying to land a counter-punch here. Grant, who scored in the 2-0 success in September on this ground, was going for a ball there, really, that he probably wasn't entitled to attack in that run with Goff. And it's a free kick against Brian Grant, and a little calming word from George Smith. Jess. It's Ferguson's ball. It's McCoist. Oh, and it's still McCoist. Ferguson. Well, there have been so many landmarks for Ali McCoist in terms of goal scoring that you really expected his 200th league goal to arrive then.
Yeah, and he made that one for himself here. Shrugs off the defender. Little shimmy, but a great block by Gary Smith. Just sticks his leg out and the ball ricochets off it. Ali tries a little trick here, set up another player, but shot way over.
It certainly shows how defenders, even when things are going wrong, when he's beaten there, should never give it up. That could well have been a goal, but for Smith's intervention in the end. 10 count. And a miss hit by Stephen Wright. Haitley. Irvin really mishit that one and actually winced as he did so. Picked up a couple of injuries already, and now there's another problem for Aberdeen. Scott Booth has gone off behind the goal. This is Gordon as the game goes on. Aberdeen having to not just take on the top team in the league, in the land, north of the border, but also this phenomenal support as well. Halstra, Haitley, McCoist, and then Snelders. They're beginning to find a way through.
Yeah, play raging from one end to another. Ali very close again with some good defending, but what I don't think we'll see is Scott Booth, who was involved in an incident at the other end. This is a great little 1-2 here. It just bobbles a bit away from Ali, and a good recovery tackle by Gary Smith. But I don't think we'll see Scott Booth taking any more part in this game.
Well, this is very sad for Aberdeen. Willie Miller now has to react to the sight of a striker coming off on a stretcher here. He's got Paul Mason on the bench, who's the more likely to come on. David Winnie, a defender, is the other substitute.
There's really nothing in this at all. It doesn't look as if there's any physical contact made. He sprints onto it, and it looks very much like to me as if he's pulled his hamstring. And in fact, in actual fact, that's what it is. He's definitely pulled his hamstring. There's no broken bones, thankfully. He just pulled a bad muscle. It's a bad muscle injury.
Well, Paul Mason comes on. The former Everton apprentice who gave up the game professionally, went to work in Holland where his brother had a job, started playing football again there. and ended up playing in the Dutch First Division, where he caught Aberdeen's eye. Coist, beaten to it by Bet. He's only knocked it to make it awkward for Smith. Aberdeen, you feel, struggling at the moment. Stevens. Here's Houstra. And there was a tangle as the ball dropped that saw Haitley down on the ground. That's why the crowd were calling. Mason not attuned to the pace of the match as yet. Houstra. Here's Goff. McCoist was tripped then by Irvin. Right on the edge of the D.
Well, the game's certainly getting a little bit hectic. Just before that, we had a little incident with McKimmie and Haitley at the back post. And this time Irvin in and just clipping McCoy's heels, and this is a really dangerous situation for Aberdeen.
7 minutes to go to half-time. And Rangers now assessing their options. The first job for Snelders to get his line of defenders exactly where he wants them. Rangers trying to distract by placing Haitley and Gordon in amongst the wall. We're still waiting for Ali McCoist to get back on his feet. He's ready now. Houstra. A little Dutch duel then. But Snelders untroubled.
Yeah, he just gets under it a little bit. Yeah, never really troubled Theo Snelders, that one. You've really got to hit them with a little bit of pace as well, or they don't get past the goalkeeper, and sometimes when you try to do that, you tend to balloon them over the bar.
Aberdeen standing fifth in the table. By their standards, that's disappointing. They have won more games away than they have at home. They've had some promising moments here at Ibrox, but they've been unsettled by the loss of Booth. And also you feel that Rangers roared forward here. Have exerted themselves a little more over the last 10 minutes or so. But they did survive the slip by Gary Stevens. And that was Scott Booth's one chance for the evening. Here's Gordon. Have to do better than that against the goalkeeper of Snelders' calibre.
Well, they're certainly getting into more attacking positions, Rangers, but he never really caught this one at all, Dale Gordon. As you say, it needs to be something a bit better than that to beat a goalkeeper of Theo Snelders' class.
But the shots are all coming in at Snelders' end of the ground at the moment. More of the free kicks are going the way of Rangers, which is another indication of the balance of power. 5 minutes to go to half-time. McCoist, here's Stevens. Haitley already jogging towards the far post. Spackman in there as well. Stevens going on. Houstra. Smith tried to run it to safety, and the ball went back in behind him, but Aberdeen coped with that. Goff. Another sharp piece of defending by Wright. Aberdeen's target at the moment to reach half-time at 0-0. Bet. Not allowed to pick his pass, although Kane did rather better. Kane capped, no match on that occasion for Stevens. I'm sure this occasion in Glasgow, making particularly interesting viewing in Edinburgh from the Hearts' point of view. They want Aberdeen to stand their corner. Stevens, Ten-Cat, now Bet, Rangers battering away. Ten-Cat, this is where Aberdeen might just catch Rangers out. They do have the willingness to get the numbers forward. It was Kane through the middle then. He was supported by Jess and also by Mason coming from the right-hand side. Three minutes to go to half-time. It might be a long 3 minutes for Aberdeen. Haitley. Barry Stevens with a chance for the long throw here. Goff already chasing into the centre. Let's have a look towards Haitley as well, who's standing right on the goal line. Can't be offside, of course. On the goal line, outside the post, that is. You'd expect Stevens to hurl it right into the middle of the goal.
Well, I think Rangers are beginning to assert their authority now. I mean, in the first half, the game really has been a little bit scrappy and a bit hectic at times, but certainly Rangers look the most likely. But Willie Miller must be well pleased the way his back four have stood firm. As you mentioned, I'm sure Joe Jordan must be as well.
Mouster's corner. Up goes Haitley! Oh, off the line! It was Paul Mason, I think it was, who soared by the post then, the substitute, with a superb clearance.
Yeah, well cleared. It was a great leap by Mark Haitley here. Yeah, and the substitute, Paul Mason, plays his part there.
Haitley up again, having been denied a goal. Well, that's why they put defenders on the posts, but the ball just under the bar. You wouldn't have been surprised if Mason had struggled to reach it. Terrific play from both players. Robertson. Now Gordon. Haitley. There's a man over here. It's Peter Halstra. Well, he got to the ball, but there wasn't a goal at the end of it for him. Snelders came, couldn't claim.
Yeah, I think Aberdeen will be desperate to hear this half-time whistle, so Willie Miller can reorganise his men. Snelders come pushing out here. Tustra just tries to scoop it over him, but just getting a little bit under it again.
Well, that certainly tells the story of the mounting Rangers' productivity. Bet hasn't had a chance to control the game in midfield. That was a fair tackle on Spackman. Goff's header, Stevens.
Yeah, it was a fair tackle by Brian Irvine, but it was also a terrific one. In actual fact, he's played superbly well at the heart of the Aberdeen defence, and it's been a battle royal with him and Mark Haitley.
Haitley gets the better of him then. The referee allowing the game to go on. The crowd feeling that Haitley was foul, but having got his head to it, and it had fallen Rangers' way. But here's Jess. Ten-Cat. He just wanted just too much time then. And Rangers in both the halves of the pitch moving very swiftly at the moment. They've improved their pace and their application as the half has gone on. And you would feel, certainly Walter Smith would feel, that they deserve some reward from it. But they're running out of time to get it before half-time. Brown's free kick. Oh, and Haitley came in. The outcome is a corner.
Yeah, this one nearly snicked into the back post. John Brown's free kick here. Ali McCoy and Gary Smith block. and McKimmie just turns it away for a corner.
The half-time whistle has gone. It's 0-0 at Ibrox. Mark Hateley came closest to providing a goal with a superb header, brilliantly stopped on the line by Paul Mason, who's come on for the unfortunate Scott Booth, who had Aberdeen's best chance after a mistake by Gary Stevens. 0-0 at Ibrox. Join us again after the break.
Things certainly hotted up towards half-time there, didn't they? Actually, talking about things hotting up, the battle for promotion from the second division in England certainly is doing that, because 7:45 kick-off tonight at the Abbey Stadium, and Cambridge United are leading Blackburn Rovers, who are top of the second division, by 2-0. And actually, talking of second division sides, of course, Ipswich Town play their FA Cup replay at Anfield tomorrow against Liverpool. That match is live here on Sky. Now, Gordon, what did you make of that first half? It seemed to me the first 20 minutes was a bit even Stevens, to use the name.
Yeah, well, I thought the first 5 or 10 minutes, Scott Booth, Ian Jess, bit of a blow for Aberdeen, Scott Booth going off. They were looking quite dangerous the first 10 minutes, and then Rangers started creeping into the game, started asserting that authority, and I think Aberdeen were pretty pleased to hear the half-time whistle, because it looks as if a Rangers goal was imminent.
Well, Theo Ten-Cap was playing very well forward. He and that free kick, of course, only just went wide, and then a mistake by Gary Stevens could have put Aberdeen one up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a rare occurrence, a Gary Stevens mistake, because believe you me, if he makes one a season, that'll be all he does, and nearly paid dearly for it. Scott Booth, very alert and quick to pounce on the mistake, but just doesn't quite get the shot right here.
And interestingly enough, of course, when Scott Booth went off injured, it actually changed the whole balance of the Aberdeen side.
Yes, it was a great pity, as I said, because him and Booth and Jess were looking particularly dangerous. I mean, you know, after the first 10 or 15 minutes, to be fair, they've never really seen a great deal of the ball. But when you're under pressure, your back four, like the Aberdeen back four have been under the last half hour, it's great to have players like that for a get-out, players that are very quick and you can knock balls over the back of defences and they can run onto it, always a threat.
OK, Ali McCoist is looking for his 200th goal in league football tonight, and he almost got it.
Yeah, this was terrific play here with Ali. Just gets in front of Stuart McKimmie. Little swear, beats Gary Smith delightfully there. Picks his spot, but Gary Smith made a tremendous recovery tackle.
Did he use his hand here?
Well, I think it's either his hand or Stuart McKimmie's shoulder, I'm not quite sure, but it was a terrific block tackle by Gary Smith, and in actual fact, for somebody so inexperienced, he's played particularly well in the Aberdeen back four alongside Brian Irvine. I
wonder what Willie Miller's first half-time speech is going to be like.
Well, I'd have thought he'd have been very pleased. Obviously, they're a team lacking in confidence at the moment, Aberdeen. That's why their manager got the sack, because the results are bad. They've brought Willie in, and I'm sure he must be delighted with one thing, and that's the way his side have competed tonight. You know, they've really stuck to their guns, particularly the back four. People like Brian Irvine, Gary Smith, Stephen Wright playing in a different position as well.
And Paul Mason, of course. Without him, they would have been a goal down.
Yeah, it was a terrific header by Mark Hateley, and then Paul Mason pops up in the goal line and denies a goal that probably at the time Rangers deserved. Terrific leap here. Nice corner. It looks as if he's behind the line when he heads it, but in actual fact, I think his head was probably on the line in a good clearance.
You don't get a better view than that, do you? So, briefly, how do you see the second half going?
Well, if it goes the way the last half hour of the first half went, I can't see anything else but a Rangers victory. But I mean, I'm sure Willie Miller will be looking for his midfield to go and support Paul Mason and Ian Jess a little bit more, and hope that his back four stand their ground the way they did in the first half. But I can't see anything other than a Rangers victory.
OK, we shall see. Stay with us. The second half comes up after this break. There are the Aberdeen fans, more than happy, I'm sure, with their side's first half performance. The Aberdeen team back on the field already, still waiting for Rangers. So a suitable moment to remind you to make sure you're with us tomorrow night, when we have live coverage of the game from Anfield, Liverpool against Ipswich Town, and the FA Cup replay at Upton Park between West Ham and Sunderland. Make sure you're with us at 7 o'clock. But, as we say, no goals in the first half, but certainly the way things went in the last 10 minutes of the first half, that situation can't last for too long. Let's return to our commentators, Gordon McQueen, who's shifted up that ladder once again, and Martin Tyler.
Thank you, John. Aberdeen started the season with 5 straight wins. It looked as though it would be a season of success for them. And when they lost at home to Airdrie in a Skull Cup tie, and really found it hard to get their bearings back on a regular basis since then. Many of you, I'm sure, having a look at Rangers in a live game, perhaps for the first time. Gordon McQueen, there's a feeling in these parts that possibly the midfield, although there's a lot of hard work put into that department, lacks maybe a Paul McStay or even a Jim Bett.
Yeah, they're probably missing a little bit of craft in the middle of the park, and Jim Bett and of course Paul McStay at Celtic, they're probably the two most creative players in the country. But of course Jim Bett turned Rangers down last year when they had the opportunity to come and rejoin Rangers.
So here's McKimmie. The Aberdeen defenders certainly pleasing their manager, I'm sure, in the first half, and the Jess coming out with a bright start to the second half. But Willie Miller was such a tough character as a player, and I'm sure as he learns about management, he'll be a demanding man as well. They always used to say as a player he refereed the game whenever he could. He might find that a bit harder to do from the bench.
No doubt he'll have a go.
Here's Mason. Nice touch from Houstra, steered forward by Spackman. Haitley is offside. David Livingston's been checking out the damage to Scott Booth. A quick word from David.
Yeah, Martin, I spoke to the physio, and it seems it's a hamstring injury, but perhaps not quite so bad as it looked. He hasn't certainly gone to a hospital or anything like that. It just looked particularly painful, but not particularly complicated, it seems.
Again, on a heavy pitch, the greater risk of muscle strains. I don't think the pitch has cut up quite as much as the players expected it to do. Ferguson will, I would suspect, see plenty of Gary Stevens forward in the second half. Aberdeen struggling to control him here. Spackman. McCoy's calling for it in the centre. Tenkat trying to prevent the ball coming in, but they let Houstra drift in behind them. Grant's header partially clearing the danger. Here's Tenkat again. Rangers throw. Haitley, it was that long Stevens throw again towards Haitley coming off the goal line itself to try and steer it across, knowing that the laws of the game say that he can't be offside direct from a throw. That was Tenkat. Haitley trying to muscle a position, the crowd feeling that he in fact was muscled out of it. Steered off by Kane, and it wasn't Mason, the number 14, who was offside, but Ian Jess, who was infield of him and at the crucial moment ahead of him.
You mentioned, Martin, about Gary Stevens pushing forward in this half. It really has been a feature of Rangers play this Rangers play this season. Stevens getting forward and Robertson getting forward, but they've not been able to do that tonight, with Aberdeen playing 4 across the middle and making it difficult for them. It's Tenkat who's trying to stop Gary Stevens, and Paul Mason on the right of midfield keeping an eye on David Robertson, with the utility man Paul Kane playing up the middle with Jess. McKimmie. Jess slipping past Brown, but Goff too strong for Kane. It's a miss hit by McKimmie, really. And Jess, who started with Rangers on schoolboy forms but wasn't taken on at Ibrox. But he certainly was properly penalised then as he tried to throw his weight around. Not the biggest of strikers, not by any means. Not quite in the Mark Haitley style. So a first half in which Rangers gradually gain control, but were restricted for the most part to shots
around the edge of the area. Challenged on a couple of occasions by McCoist. And then Hateley's header. Aberdeen trying to play on the break. And they've got a free kick now. And Goff might need some treatment.
Yeah, it looked as if it might have been a little bit of a foul by Paul Kane in the first place previous to that, but that was just a nasty collision with no real intent there on Richard Goff's behalf, but Aberdeen have got the free kick nevertheless.
It was partly physical pain for Goff, and I suspect mental pain as well, because he feels that Rangers were a bit hard done by that. He's back in position now. Well, Tenkat eyeing the angle with his left foot in mind. But Jim Bet is there as well. And it's left for Bet. Ian Jess left ruminating. A header that should, from his point of view, gone back across goal and just plopped out of play.
Yeah, it was a nicely worked free kick with Tenkat running over the ball and Ian Jess making a run from a central position at the back post and wasn't really picked up, and it was a poor header. Should have directed that one across goals.
And Jess again, who's developing a meaner streak to his play. George Smith, first of all dealing with the foul, and then having spoken to the culprit for that, turning to Kane, who obviously had his say.
Yeah, that was more of a stumble than anything else by Richard Goff. No real intent again, being Jess.
Hateley. And Rangers capitalise on these little nicks and flicks. Now the referee here has seen a high tackle by Ferguson, I think it was. Ian Ferguson went in, and referee George Smith straight away appreciated the severity of the incident here. Stephen Wright is the Aberdeen player who cleared the ball, and there was no need for Ferguson to do that.
Well, I think he must be quite happy with a booking there, because it was very late indeed in closing Stephen Wright down there for that clearance and lifted his boot far too high.
Well, one would say he had time to pull out if he wanted to.
Yeah, but 5 minutes.
And John Brown calming him down. There's a poacher turned gamekeeper for a moment. Right is back on his feet quicker than perhaps one would have anticipated. Certainly was a high challenge that could have left a very definite mark on the Aberdeen left back. Brown first to the ball. Here's Mason. Remember, in these meetings between the two sides this season, it's been the away team that's come out on top on every occasion. Twice the Rangers have won at Pittodrie to the satisfaction of David Robertson, I'm sure. And Aberdeen won 2-0 here at the end of September. Goals from Brian Grant and Ian Jess. That's a push by Wright on Gordon.
Well, I think Dale Gordon finds life much easier away from Ibrox, where teams tend to, Ibrox certainly, get a lot of players behind the ball. It makes it difficult for wide players. No sooner have they beat one player than another player's closing them down.
McCoist. Well, with concentration all around Hateley then. McCoist was first to the free kick.
Yeah, a little bit of slack marking there by young Gary Smith. Gave Ali a free header, but the ball came over far too fast for him to do anything with it. And couldn't really guide the header.
Goff well above Kane. Bright. And Brown pleased that Goff filled in behind him. Spackman, every challenge at the moment is particularly fierce. Rangers trying to reassert themselves at the start of the second half, and Willie Miller has sent his team out here with the most determined attitude. The side cast in the manager's own image. George Smith with his hands full at the moment. McCoist. That's Ferguson, who turned away towards the referee, feeling that there might have been a deflection then. We might be able to prove that one way or the other.
Yeah, John Brown floats a long free kick in. They're up scrapping for it. Hateley just lays it back. Yeah, it might have took a deflection off his chest there, or even his arm for that matter.
It's off Brian Grant, I think. Grant again. They're angry on the Aberdeen dugout with Mark Hateley. Whether he left a foot in then as the ball was cleared.
Well, I think when players are too physical, players such as Mark Hateley and Brian Irvine are fighting for balls, there's always a chance there's going to be elbows flying. And it's very difficult to say from this angle whether that was an intentional elbow on Mark Hateley's behalf. But certainly it floored Brian Irvine, whatever it was.
I think it was certainly that first incident. Hateley was around the ball after it had dropped as well, as they stood up on the Aberdeen bench to bellow their protests. Here's Stevens. Hard for control football to surface in this intimidating atmosphere at the moment. Oh, but Ferguson almost found a way through as Rangers got back to the job in hand. Very much in fine style. It was very neatly constructed, this.
Yeah, lovely little bit of football. Lovely turn, and he just slides Ian Ferguson in here. He gets in front of the defender. And a great diving block with Theo Snell does. Here it is again. Lovely little flick from Ali. Barges his way through Ian Ferguson. Great goalkeeping.
And that was Ferguson using his strength properly then. Coming through on the burst. But Snell just did his job. Aberdeen are still holding Rangers. Bet takes the free kick. Kane trying to nip in behind Goff. No flag from the linesman. The ball has stayed in play. Mason! Well, that looked as though it might have been goal-bound. Paul Mason's done that before. It really was an instinctive reaction as the ball dropped on his left side and he blazed away on the half volley.
Yeah, didn't half crack this one. Who does it half? Yes. That's Gary Stevens in the face.
Possibly from that angle might have just been veering wide. But Aberdeen reminding Rangers that the home side here have got to think about defending as well as breaking down determined opposition.
Yeah, it's all very hurried at this moment in time. It needs one or two players, Jim Bett, Ian Ferguson, Nigel Spackman, to try and put their foot in the ball and slow things down a bit and start playing a bit more football.
Astra. Hateley. He's never frightened of shooting when the ball comes to his left foot. And he relished the opportunity as Houstra knocked it inside to him. Actually, he did have more time, but that's easy to say afterwards. If it had flown into the top corner, he'd still be doing a lap of honour. And Robertson with the speed there to really make Mason give up the chase. Well, Spackman has had a blow in the face. No doubt about that. There's the evidence. Well, the Premier League in Scotland does have a reputation for hurly-burly. An athletic game where there aren't too many occasions where the purists are totally satisfied, but it's very entertaining viewing in its way. if you've got a strong constitution. Gorham comes with the fist. 10 cut. Oh, and if Jess could have hauled that one in, then Rangers might have had a problem. Ferguson had to hold a little in midfield at the moment. Gordon's coming alongside him in the absence of Spackman. Ian Durant is warming up, along with the other substitutes, Paul Rideout, who was brought here because of Haitley's injury problems, and has, by all accounts, and by Mark Haitley's own account, been playing well as Haitley's deputy. So we've had an hour. Most of it, or more of it, should I say, in Rangers' favour. But they haven't got the goal that their pressure has threatened to produce. And that will worry Walter Smith and his assistant, Archie Knox. Haitley, not much movement that time, but of course Rangers not wanting to overcommit forward from midfield at the moment. Alstra finding himself on the right against Gary Smith, and still with the ball until he goes down, but that's not a trip. Rules George Smith. Mason. Brown comes across. There's a little ball on here for Gordon, but John Brown just put too much pace into the pass. Off the pitch because blood was spilt, and that needs to be cleared up under the medical regulations. Stevens. Here's McCoist. Stevens again. Gordon. Supposed to have gone inside him, and Richard Gough is there as well. Can Haitley knock this one back across? He does. Ferguson, it's wide. It's a corner though. Richard Gough played a major part then with his back to goal. Ferguson says thank you for teeing it up.
Yeah, it was a lovely build-up, deep cross from Dale Gordon on the right. Great knock back to Mark Haitley. Gough tees it up for Ian Ferguson, but way off target with his shot.
Ferguson waiting on the edge of the area. Gough is poised. Haitley to come in as well. Gordon is there. Aberdeen have pulled everyone back. Alstra to take the corner. Ferguson! Well, it's sped through the crowd, but to Aberdeen's considerable relief, went on past the pack behind for a goal kick. The roar heralds the return of Spackman. When he turns around, we'll see how they've stemmed the bleeding. Brown with the header, and then Irvin doing likewise. Right, just relieving the pressure, but hoping perhaps the ball might drop kindly for Aberdeen. And good pressing there by Mason. Well, there's a plaster just below the bottom lip there. Nigel Spackman is a very chatty character, and I'm sure that won't stop him passing his comments. Haitley runs off Irvin. 19 minutes gone in the second half. Willie Miller's team continue to defend with a reasonable amount of confidence against the Premier League leaders. Jess. Most responsibility really on him to hold the ball up and let Aberdeen draw some breath at the back. Robertson challenges them now. Here's Halstra. Knocked away well by Irvin. Aberdeen naturally do like to play a passing game, as you're just seeing. 10 cut. Was not a pass of the high order from Stephen Wright. Whether he would feel he'd expected one of his front players to have filled that space, well, they didn't react. If it was a risk, they would have gone offside in any case. 3 up for Rangers. Haitley is one of them. And the extra man was McKimmie, offside. McCoist inevitably puts the ball in, but the flag was up before he slammed the ball past Snelders.
Yeah, the flag was up well before, quite some time before Alan McLeod pounced in this, but not a bad little finish.
What do you expect? So he stays on 199. Haitley. Here's Halstra. Trying to trick McKimmie, and he does make a position for the cross. Haitley. Mason very coolly clearing Aberdeen's lines. Haitley way beyond the far post, unselfishly knocked it across goal. Archie Knox is furious with the linesman, who's aided the referee in giving Aberdeen a free kick.
I can understand him being furious. It's a really peculiar decision.
McKimmie. Jess. Only Kane really in the centre for Aberdeen. And 2 others thinking about getting there now, including Tenkat. Jess has lost out and he's flung himself down. He won't get anything there. Haitley. Coyce trying to stay onside. He's done that. Oh, unlucky. He knew Gordon was running. Hoped that there would be enough pace for the ball to reach him.
I must say I've been impressed with Gary Smith at the heart of the Aberdeen defence tonight. He's not played that many games since signing from Falkirk, but he's played with a lot of composure for a youngster tonight and played particularly well, as has Stephen Wright, who's moved into a position in the left back role that's alien to him.
Well, for so long it was McLeish and Miller in there with Irvin the understudy. Now Brian Irvin very much one of the main men. And Gary Smith's taking a major claim here to impress a manager who knows absolutely everything there is to know about that particular job. I just wonder what Walter Smith is thinking at the moment. Has reached the 3/4 mark. It's certainly not one you want to turn your eyes away from. Anything can happen in an instant. Goff. It's not the wisest part of the pitch to show his ball juggling skills, but the Rangers managed to get them forward in the end. Spackman very brave in the circumstances, having had that bang in the face. Here's Halstra. Robertson outside him. Halstra can go for goal, and Snelders was moving to his right and suddenly found the ball coming more to his left, but he repositioned and now the game is stopped. It's a free kick to Aberdeen.
Well, I think everybody's expecting a little cross to the back post here where Mark Haitley's looking. But he decides to have a shot. Strikes it really well, nearly deceived Theo Snelders. But Mark Haitley in a good position in the back post. I don't think he was too happy.
No shortage of shots from Rangers, but not one of them has produced a goal. Gary Stevens was the player singled out incidentally by the referee after a little skirmish on the far side while we were analysing the effort from Halstra. Haitley. Well, there haven't been too many cracks in front of Theo Snelders. Aberdeen sticking to their task. A draw would be a most pleasurable result for them in the circumstances. And maybe more than that, as Mason takes it up for them here. And goes on. And it was Kane who was alongside him. Possibly in the end got a little too close and didn't have enough time to really pull the right foot back to get full venom into the shot.
Yeah, it was a little snack shot here coming up, and as you say, he couldn't really get his leg behind the ball and get any power behind it.
Spackman wholeheartedly again. Brown coming across Ian Jess then. Jess was angry. Brown blocked him off. Irvine, most solid header. Neatly done by Kane, the makeshift striker. Here's McKimmie. Unsurprisingly, there have been a number of players with bumps and bruises in this game. The latest is Brian Grant, who's just able to make an intervention then, but he's still limping. Trip by Halstra. Aberdeen wondering whether they might get the referee's blessing to attend to Grant. They're telling him to get down from the bench.
Yeah, I think the games went a little bit scrappy and a little bit physical, which is a great shame because we're watching two sides here that are capable of playing splendid football. And that's not really been the case tonight. It's been more of a battle.
I think this was the foul by Halstra on Mason. I think the feeling after the most recent meeting between the two sides up at Pittodrie last month in the Scottish Cup, and it was a feeling shared by the then Aberdeen manager Alex Smith, that his players didn't quite make enough of a fight of it then.
Well, they're certainly
doing it tonight, yeah.
Well, they're certainly doing it for Willie Miller. I think that's the one thing that he must be delighted with tonight, the commitment his players have shown him.
Scott Booth very gingerly joining those in the dugout now. Well, it was a shame, a great shame for Aberdeen that his part in the match ended so prematurely. Bet to take the free kick. Coming towards Irvine. There's a fine jump by Stevens. Bet. Irvine stayed up there, giving the Rangers something to think about. Ferguson's flick. Irvine out of position at the moment. Stevens. Aberdeen have their full complement now in the centre of defence, but they're being pulled wide by Goff's initiative. Oh, and he was absolutely sure that that was going to be a corner. Rangers are taking off Dale Gordon. Well, the number 7 board was held up, and the game was quickly restarted, so Ian Durrant will have to wait. Right. They can make the change. Well, Dale Gordon was taken off in the last game against Motherwell. Ian Durrant, who has had such a fight against that dreadful knee injury, which of course was sustained playing at Aberdeen back in 1988, and the crowd always recognising his efforts to make a comeback every time he's involved. Haitley. McKimmie. Here's 10 Cat for Aberdeen. And they are well represented in the middle if the Dutchman can play across then, which was in the end beyond him, with 15 minutes to go. Gordon, what do you make of the Rangers substitution?
Well, I think we mentioned earlier that they maybe lacked a little bit of guile in the middle of the park, Rangers. Well, they brought Ian Durrant on, and he certainly is a man with tremendous skill, a man that makes great forward runs and gets into good scoring positions. Maybe not fully recovered from his injury yet. Obviously, that will take a long, long time. But as you heard the roar when he went onto the park, he's a hugely popular player here.
Paul Rideout is also going through his warming-up routine, because Rangers need a goal. Halstra. That's a most elusive piece of work from him, and McCoy's tried to let it run. And there was some impeding done then by Ferguson.
Well, the ball broke. Jim Beck got the film. The ball broke in his favour there, but I don't think he was too concerned, because really Aberdeen, there's an awful lot of Aberdeen players behind Jim Beck, and looking up there was 2 Aberdeen players up front and something like 5 Rangers players facing him. So I think he was quite happy to get told back by referee George Smith to where the foul was committed.
Mark Hateley might need a match or two after his layoff to get back to full sharpness. Rideout is to come on. It's possible, of course, he might be a direct replacement for Hateley, or they might really go the aerial route.
Yeah, well, it looks like they've pushed Ian Durrant up wide his left and switched Houstra over to the right wing. And if they're hoping to get crosses in, maybe Paul Rideout's the man to go up and partner Mark Hateley.
Robertson. Here's Spackman. McKimmie, he certainly held his own at right back for Aberdeen, as one would expect from a regular international player. His old partner, David Robertson, helping out Rangers then. Halstra, left-footed, but given the job at the moment on the right-hand side. McCoist is offside. And down by the bench, Davy Dodds, one of the coaches here, and Archie Knox looked away in disappointment then. Jess, here's Kane. He's got a bit to do. Jess is there to help him. 10 Cat coming into the centre. Aberdeen know they won't get too many moments to snatch a winner, but when there is one around, they're prepared to gamble and react quickly in getting players into the Rangers penalty area and make the most of the chance. Well, it's another fine crowd in this fabulous stadium. Stevens. There's a ground that may be used a little bit more by Scotland. With the World Cup qualifiers coming up later in the year. Ferguson. Robertson trying to set off free, and Jess had covered him. And Robertson's gone wider now, and he can be used by Spackman. Aiming for Hateley. Always excellent defensive duty again from Gary Smith. Goff. Durrant allowed to turn. He likes to shoot from long range. He can also find a pass for Hateley's head. Robertson bounced behind off McKimmie. Corner to Rangers. .11 minutes left. Durrant's corner. Over Hateley. Halstra looping it back in again. John Brown. Well stopped. At a fairly comfortable height for Snelders once he was in the right position. His positioning was very important here, as well as his stretching.
Yeah, Heusler just flicks it up there and he tries the loopy header, but Theo Snelders maybe a yard or two off his line.
Robertson, but they get it away through Grant. Aberdeen pen back at the moment. McCoist. Well, this is the time when sides which have the stamp of champions might just assert their quality. Rangers looking to win the league for a 4th consecutive year. Haitley, and now Goff. Brown! Well, there was some sort of barrier there for Aberdeen. Spackman. 10 players in red. All back in their own penalty area, and there were enough in the way of Brown's volley. Here's Jess. Now Spackman. Grant. Held up by Goff. Haitley. Was that handball? No. Gary Smith taking it on the torso. Grant. Ten-Cat giving him an angle. And now Kane in the centre. Jess coming in as well. And David Robertson. Coolness itself. Particularly after what happened to Gary Stevens in the first half.
Yeah, I think Aberdeen now will be looking to get the ball up to the strikers, for them to hold on to it and just give them a little bit of breathing space at the back, because Rangers are putting a lot of pressure on Aberdeen.
Rangers have put a lot of effort into the game. But it's still Rangers 0, Aberdeen 0. McKimmie. Betts springing ahead of him. Jess infield. Got the run of the ball against Spackman. Oh, and Ten-Cat didn't want to have to go this wide then. He's taken some of the menace for the moment out of the move. And he'll get his cross in. Jess. Oh, Ferguson. That's a moment of potential embarrassment for Ian Ferguson. It is a corner.
Yeah, the desperate swipe at the ball there, not realising that there was nobody around about him at all. They're trying to control that one.
So Jim Bett taking all the time he can to get over for the corner. Being encouraged now by the referee to buck his ideas up, otherwise he'll be in trouble for time wasting. There's McKimmie. Mason. Irvin still in the centre. Brown is there. Spackman, there's only one ball out for Rangers. It involves Ali McCoist. It was well played too. McCoist has to get support from a deeper position in Durant. But Aberdeen were a bit stretched for a moment. Halstra. Now Stevens. Spackman. They've been banging away at the door, Rangers. And Haitley very nearly went across the threshold. Snelders right on the line.
Yeah, it's a terrific cross. Goes to cross it was like dummies. It's in a nice cross with his right foot. Haitley a good head, and Snelders well smashing save by the goalkeeper.
He was right back on his own line, Theo Snelders, when he got his hands to the ball there. But it looked for a second as though Haitley's header would find its way through. This terrific resistance from Aberdeen. Team from the Granite City really showing some steel. Well, it's the type of performance, mostly a rearguard action, that Willie Miller, the player, would have very much enjoyed being a part of. But as a manager, he'll be anxiously counting the seconds away, because Aberdeen aren't away from here with a point as yet. And David Robertson goes again. Has to settle for giving away the throw. Durant very snappily on the scene to get the game restarted. Ferguson. It's asking a lot of Stevens, even his sprinting ability not up to that.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned the Aberdeen back four tonight, and rightly so. They've played magnificently well, but also their midfield have closed Rangers down very quickly tonight and not really let Nigel Spackman, Ian Durant now, Ian Ferguson get the type of service into the strikers that they would like.
And when the outfield players have been found wanting, this fella's done his job.
Yeah, he's not a bad goalkeeper, I'll tell you.
Well, that's one thing that Alex Smith can be proud of, the players like Snelders that he brought to the club, who will go on after his time as manager. Halstra. Here's McCoist. Goff is right up there. Haitley coming in, and it ran off Mason for a corner. Almost a case of Aberdeen getting too many players in there. Mason believed that he'd actually spared Aberdeen this anxiety, but a corner it is. Haitley. Tenkat and Irvin getting in each other's way. Durant. Snelders will come, and there's nothing Rangers could do about that. But what Aberdeen are continuing to do is recognise this opportunity of catching Rangers out and turning 1 point into 2. George Smith actually helping Rangers unwittingly then, but it won't leave him red-faced because McCoist was offside.
Well, they were under tremendous pressure there, Aberdeen, but I'll tell you, they didn't have great forward in numbers when the ball broke up the other part, the other end of the park. But
well, he's very close, Willie Miller, to completing a satisfactory first night as a manager. They've certainly battled for him, the team wearing red. Brown. 2 minutes to go. Right tackle. Haitley giving away a free kick, and Rangers really haven't got much time to be doing that, given their ambition for victory. It isn't, we must say, a major setback were they to drop a point. It will certainly keep Hearts very interested. This is Kane. Grant's got into the box, and Robertson saw him coming. Tenkat's cross. Grant, Mason coming in, one number 14, dealing with another though, Ian Durant. Well, not too many of the crowd have left, and the huge Rangers support hoping for a sting in the tail. Well, as long as it happens at this end of the ground, of course. Haitley, beaten by McKimmie. Ranging forward here is Paul Mason. Ferguson stops him. Irvin. Back it can go. But there haven't been too many negative thoughts in the Aberdeen minds. They've obviously been pressed back as they would expect here. But when a raid has been on, they've recognised it. But now it's just a matter of running down the clock.
Yeah, I think Aberdeen take the honours this evening. All in all, it's if you like your football physical, well, this is a game for you. But personally, I prefer to see a bit more football than has been played tonight. And it's a result that, if it finishes a draw, it'll keep the league championship wide open, and a result that will delight the Hearts management, players and supporters. And of course, Willie Miller as well. He must be well pleased with his side.
We're into stoppage time now. Kane. Mason making sure that Durant has to play it back. Brown is aware that what space there was along his back line. Halstra. Here's Goff. Typical of the man. He's not settling for a draw at this late stage. And whenever there has been potential for him to join his midfield men and even the strikers, Richard Goff has done it. But for all the effort, for a greater share of the ball, Rangers haven't broken down Aberdeen. Snelders has had to make all the difficult saves in the match, but he's manufactured them with high class. Robertson. Now Halstra. Oh, he's turned brilliantly, and Gary Smith, in keeping with a splendid performance, had also turned.
Yeah, terrific little bit of skillway history here, but it doesn't fool Gary Smith. And as you said, he's had a tremendous evening.
Well, no time for the corner to be taken. Willie Miller starts his managerial career, delighted, I'm sure, with a draw here at Ibrox. Only the second point Rangers have dropped in 13 league games. Their margin now over second place, Hearts, extended to 5. Rangers, you would feel, still on course for a 4th championship in consecutive seasons. But Aberdeen have made a more than useful start to a new era. We'll have a word with Willie Miller, I'm sure, after the break. But at Ibrox, it's finished. Rangers 0, Aberdeen 0.
New goals here, which I'm sure has gone down extremely well in Edinburgh with the Hearts supporters. Just to give you the latest score from England as well, it's still Cambridge 2, the second division leaders Blackburn 0. So what did that result mean here this evening? Answer, Rangers are now 5 points clear in the Premier League, but they have of course now played a game in hand. Interesting game for Rangers on Saturday. They're playing Airdrie, so I reckon they must fancy their chances there. But Hearts against Celtic is not quite the easiest game they'd want to make up ground on Rangers at the top of the table. Gordon, after watching a match like that, you said that Willie Miller must be more happy than Walter Smith, but really Rangers dominated the match.
Yeah, I think Rangers certainly applied the most pressure, but really never created any clear-cut chances. Maybe one or two things never dropped too kindly for them in the box this evening, particularly Ali McCoist in the first half with 1 or 2, but full marks to Aberdeen for the defensive qualities tonight. I thought they defended magnificently. Young Gary Smith in particular, quite an inexperienced player.
And not a bad goalkeeper.
Well, I mean, there's not many better than Theo Snell. There really has been an exceptional signing by Alex Smith, and I'm sure one that Willie Miller was delighted that he's made.
This is the first save in that half from Ferguson, which, you know, a goal early in the second half really would have changed the game.
Yes, he comes out very quick here. Good play, nice little turn by Ali McCoist, lays it in Ian Ferguson's path. But he blocks it well. And this is a John Brown header. He just slightly off his line, not much here with Snelders, but a looping header by John Brown. And Snelders has got to be very alert. This is a terrific bit of goalkeeper. Mark Haitley, terrific in these situations. Thinks he's done everything right. He has, but so's Theo Snelders.
Mark Haitley didn't look unfit.
No, he looked particularly strong, considering the long layoff. I mean, he has been out for quite some time, and that's a big bonus for Rangers now to have him back fully fit in the run-in for the championship, because I think it'll still be tight.
And Nigel Spackman's got a knock in the face. There was quite a bit of a physical play in the middle of the field. It was perhaps more brutal than we might have expected.
Yeah, I thought it was too physical for my liking, and I liked to see it was all too hectic and hurried. And I'd have liked to see one or two players putting their foot in the ball and try to stroke it around a bit. Rangers get Davy Robertson into the game, get Gary Stevens into the game, which they never done tonight, and that's normally a big feature in their game. And they never get a great deal of the ball out to Peter Hoystra either. But in saying that, Aberdeen were getting everybody behind the ball and defending magnificently.
Looking forward, what do you think Willie Miller's objectives are going to be now with Aberdeen?
Well, they've certainly not got a lot to go for in terms of trophies. I mean, they're out of everything. They won't qualify for European place, and of course that's something we've been accustomed to seeing Aberdeen in Europe. Well, that's not going to happen this year. I think it'll just take time to sort the players out that he wants and that he doesn't want. It doesn't matter how long players have been at Aberdeen. If they're not in Willie Miller's plans, he'll be ruthless and they'll be off-ski. And I think we'll see a bit of wheeling and dealing before now and the end of the season, and particularly next close season.
And I mentioned earlier that Hearts will be delighted that Aberdeen managed to claw a point back this evening. How do you assess the top of the table?
Very tight. I mean, the game in hand that Hearts have got is a tricky one, and of course, as you mentioned, they've got Celtic at Tynecastle on Saturday, which is a difficult one as well. But probably the crunch match will come here in, I think it's 6-7 weeks' time when Hearts come to Ibrox, and we could see a situation that Hearts come in here and have just got to win. They've got no alternative. OK, thanks for being with us, Gordon. Let's mention a few other things that you can see with us on Sky over the next 48 hours or so. Don't forget, live from Anfield tomorrow night, it's Liverpool against Ipswich, the FA Cup 5th round replay, and followed by that will be the match at Upton Park, West Ham against Sunderland, 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. And of course, if you want to watch all the action in the World Cup cricket, this is the place to be. Australia against South Africa on Wednesday morning. And then on Thursday morning, England against the West Indies in Melbourne. And that really should be something you won't want to miss. Sorry we couldn't provide you with a goal here this evening, but I'm sure you'll agree there was more than enough goal mouth action. We'll see you tomorrow evening. From all of us here, good night.